Hi everyone, it's Holly and I'm here with a video that I wanted to make. I'm not sure how good it's gonna be, but I don't know. I wanted to do it. So I've seen Elliot Brooks, sorry, kicking the camera. That was totally me. Murphy is sleeping. Elliot Brooks has done videos like these before. I love her. I love her channel. And yeah, so she's read like 1-star reviews. I did go through and find some, but this was like a couple weeks ago. I don't even remember what they say. And I've actually filmed this video before and I didn't particularly like the video, and I was in a really weird place at the time in my life. Things have not changed. I'm just handling them better now. So that's good. But I wanted to read 1-star reviews of some of my favorite books. So I'm gonna read for 3 books, and I have, I believe, 3 reviews for each of them. So there are 3 5-star reads from me. And I tried to like scroll through some of the 1-star reviews to find good ones. And I'm gonna try to be really open-minded, because just because you like something doesn't mean someone else is going to like it. I've talked about this before. Also, just because you don't like something doesn't mean somebody else won't enjoy it. I plan on doing videos in the future. I want to do 2. I want to do one that is why you shouldn't read my favorite books and why you should read books I don't like. Because I've talked about this before. I did a video earlier this year talking about negative reviews and how I don't think negative reviews are bad. Ironically, I just gave my first 1-star today, so that's fun. Yeah, reading is very personal, but I kind of wanted to read these. I don't think that any of them are particularly snarky. I might give like my opinion on what they say, but most likely a lot of this is going to be like, well, that is your opinion. Without shade. So, in case you're wondering, I'm going to talk about Wallbanger by Alice Clayton, The Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller, ooh, voice cracked, and Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. I'm probably not going to review like the whole review necessarily. It might just be like specific parts of it. But let's get started. So I did some like Goodreads. I screenshotted them. I have folders on my phone with the pictures. And I'll probably do this at some point for some of my favorite historical romances, mostly because I'm just curious. So yeah, so first let's talk about Wallbanger by Alice Clayton. This is the first book in her Wallbanger series. I love it. I think it's hilarious. It has over 170,000 reviews on Goodreads, and about 4,800 or 3% are 1-star reviews. So this one says, it's from Cindy. Hello, Cindy. We respect you and your choices and your opinions. What is with these OMG super hot fun books that became all the rage here on Goodreads lately? Are they all, and they are all the same? Okay, so agreed. So she wrote this in 2012, which is like around when that book came out. There was definitely a trend of like, she says that, oh man, OMG super hot fun books. I view them as like kind of over the top, funny, campy books, and it was definitely a time in history. I tend to like them, but I like campy things, so. A Mary Sue heroine with a perfect job and perfect friends who looks perfect but for some reason is alone and sexually frustrated, and she's all kinds of batshit about her perceptions of men or sex, or men and sex. Thus the heroine of what exactly? Oh yeah, and then at the end she says, and all of these blatant attempts at as farcical humor are just too damn much. Oh, and this cat everyone is mooning over, Clive, he's the most unrealistic of all. He's like cartoon Garfield unrealistic, and trust me, I know cats with personality, but this is just stupid. I remember loving the cat. I do think the cat is probably unrealistic. I mean, the cat basically narrates like the epilogue, so I mean, you're not wrong. So this one, I saved this one just because it's like so short and I think it's funny. Plus there's like a rabbit in the review and I love rabbits. My family raised rabbits and showed them, so. I'm absolutely over heroines who call their orgasms her and talk to their body parts. No, I was most assuredly not amused, unfunny, and extremely boring. I'm sure it's me, not the book. I don't know if they're trying to be sarcastic and saying like the book is actually awful. I think when it comes to humor, I think humor is very much subjective. I think, like, humor is such a complicated issue, like, complicated thing, right? I thought it was funny and not boring. But I also can see people not liking this. Like, I remember when I did my review on this, people were like, oh, I'm gonna read this because of you. And I was like, but what if you don't like it? Which I already feel that way, like, when people read books that I love, I'm afraid they're not gonna like them. But I definitely think, I've known since I read this that this is not a book for everybody. And I have to say, I'm not like extremely bothered by when people like talk about like their orgasms or like their body parts, like when they call like their boobs the girls or whatever. Like, it doesn't offend me or anything, and I don't lose sleep over it, but it's not my favorite thing in real life or in fiction. And it definitely, back then, was definitely a trend. So then this one says, contrived, derivative. The title is apt. It's a wall banger. Examples of how utterly cliche and contrived this book is. The heroine has a group of gal pals, each of whom have no personality and are chick-lit heroine girlfriends stereotypes. Sex and the City did it better, and this is a total ripoff and failed. So I haven't watched a ton of Sex and the City. I've seen some of it in passing. I've never particularly enjoyed it. And I don't remember enough about Caroline's friends to comment on if they had personality or not. I think this was also told in first person, so there's always like a struggle there with personality, right? Yeah, like she even says, unless you're going to devote more time developing the secondary characters, all you end up with are stereotypes and page fillers. I agree, that does happen. The only slightly interesting thing is the hero, who is a sexually unapologetic guy who sleeps around and has a harem, heroine's words, of women. Nothing wrong with that, since he's honest with his ladies and simply likes variety. And then she complains because he changes and stuff. I think these are all valid reviews, obviously. I think that a lot of this book, I mean, all books obviously come down to personal preference, but I think this one is particular. So next, let's talk about Daughter of the Pirate King. So this, I have to say, was a surprise to me when I gave it 5 stars. I was expecting it to be 3, maybe 4. Why did I buy it anyways? I don't know. So yeah, it has 31,000 ratings on Goodreads. 580 of them are 1 star. That's 2%. I actually expected way more than that. For some reason, I thought this book would get like a ton of hate. So first we have Utterly Ridiculous. Once again, we have a special snowflake teenage girl who is of course gorgeous and good at everything, who ends up on a ship run by handsome teenage boys. Our Pirate King's daughter is on an important mission, but she mostly just talks about how great she is and what clothes she's wearing. I really thought my eyes might roll out of my head at several points. Why are so many YA books terrible? Just because it's a book written for teenagers doesn't mean it needs to be insipid, trite, and ridiculous. DNF. So I understand where she's coming from, and I think that this, I don't know how far she read, she didn't say, and whatever, she can say whatever she wants, no matter how much she read. The only thing I really hate is when people leave ratings and reviews for books that they haven't read at all. I personally, like, maybe I'm just not free and loose with my 1 stars, which obviously I'm not because I've only done it once. To me, she basically just describes Selena from Throne of Glass, and people like love the shit out of those. And I will admit that I would have to reread Daughter of the Pirate King. I don't remember being bothered by her like special snowflakeness. Maybe it's because it's shorter, I don't know, but I would much prefer her and Trisha Levenseller's characters over Sarah J. Maas's characters. But that's just me. This one is, I was able to get through it in 1 sitting, and the banter between the main character and her love interest was rather entertaining. Other than that, I didn't enjoy this book. See, to me, if that's how I felt, I would give this 2 to 3 stars. For starters, whoever decided to compare this book to Pirates of the Caribbean is grossly misdirected. It is in no shape or form anything like Pirates of the Caribbean. This is a love story, and not a good one at that. I agree. I came into this late, so I don't remember it ever being compared to Pirates of the Caribbean, so I don't know if that was a reader-reviewer thing or if the publisher was trying to do that. I would not consider it similar to Pirates of the Caribbean, other than the fact that there's like pirates and pirates are fighting with each other, which I guess makes it a comp, but I also agree it is heavily a romance, and I think if you're gonna have a romance heavy story, you should be honest about that with your readers, because romance in particular, especially in YA, tends to be a hot topic where a lot of people don't like it. I eat that shit up, so. And then this last one, I'm not gonna read the whole thing because it's pretty long. But basically what she's saying is she's upset because the main character, she runs a pirate ship and it's a crew of women, and she said that's like the only part that would have been really awesome to see, and it's just not explored enough. And again, I would need to reread it to give you like my opinion. These are short books. They're pretty short. They're like less than 300 pages. So you're obviously gonna have like a lack of additional plot development there. So I understand that, and I wonder, I mean, this book's not that old, but I feel like Girl Squad stories are really popular now, and so maybe it would be different if written now. I don't know. And lastly, we're going to talk about Goose Girl. This is probably the one that hurts me the most because it's like the one where I can least see why people would hate it, but it's fine. So this one has 127,000 ratings on Goodreads. It has 3,600 one-star reviews for about 3%. So this first one says, a very slow book, clumsily written and starring an insipid heroine. The author lost my confidence right from the start with a typo on page 3, and I never could quite trust her again. The climax where the true princess is revealed was so predictable and clumsy, even for a YA book, that I actually groaned out loud. First of all, one typo and you're just like, bitch, please. Really? Do you read any books? Like, and 1 star for that? So I will say and acknowledge, I do think Goose Girl and the books of Bayern in general are slower. They are slow books, but to me, they're slow in the best possible way. And I've talked about this before, I kind of like a slow fantasy, not like, I just kind of like to like sit in it and like enjoy. I don't know, it's very weird. I think it's one of the reasons I like the Books of Bayern series, is it feels like I get to kind of like live in the world with these characters. And she says the writing is clumsy. I think the writing is beautiful. Like, I think this writing is beautiful. So, but that just goes to show you, everybody has different opinions. So this one is DNF at page 100. I would say that's fairly far into it. I just don't think this was for me. While it had that fairy tale tone, I didn't really care about the characters or their situation. I also felt weird reading about a 16-year-old girl with the voice of an 8-year-old. I kept forgetting the main character's age. It's not a bad book, it's just not a for me book. So, one, I think this is really important to know. Like, I think that it's so important to know your taste and to know what works and doesn't work for you. I think that can really help you find good quality fiction for yourself. And obviously you're gonna find stuff that you thought you were gonna like and you're not, and all of that, and that's fine. I don't really care for the characters or their situations. So I think part of the problem here for her, like if I could guess what her issue was, is that she had trouble connecting to Izzy and the characters in the world. And I will say, objectively, I can see how that would happen. One is, I would suggest, if like this was you and you were like, oh, I didn't like it, but maybe I would try it again, I would recommend the audiobooks. Maybe you'll like it better. They're full cast. But I do think the way the story is written is very much like a fairy tale. And there's almost like this barrier between you and the characters, and so the connection there is a little harder. I personally felt it, but I can very easily see why people would have trouble connecting. As for the voice, I think this is a really interesting comment. I have always thought that these read a little young. It doesn't bother me personally. Obviously I gave it 5 stars. It doesn't bother me, but I do think they read young. I have said for a long time, I don't know if I've ever said this in a video, but I've said it in my personal life, that these are the kind of books I would give like a 10-year-old and feel very comfortable. I mean, I'm the kind of person that if I was a parent, I would probably be comfortable with my kids reading pretty much anything. I mean, obviously like with some guidance, but especially if I had read it, like I don't think books ruin children, so you know. But I think that I would very comfortably give this to like a 10 and 11-year-old, and recommend it to a 10 and 11-year-old, because it's very, I know people hate this word and I'm sorry, but it's very clean. It does have like some pretty dark elements. Anna Burning is super dark, which is the second book. I didn't even realize until I like reread it a couple of years ago how, I think she does a good job of like layering it, whereas like you get older and you have more life experience, you can see more like psychological stuff instead of just like what's on the page for you. But it definitely is a lower tone, and I've always wondered if Shannon Hale, I believe she's Mormon, there's like a ton of Mormons that write YA, and they like all come out of BYU. It blows my mind. Like I don't know why I wouldn't think BYU would be like a big school. There's nothing on my face, or is that my camera? Oh, it's camera, okay. But BYU like pumps out freaking writers. So I don't know if that is a contributing factor or if it's just her style. Oh yeah, this one. Love this book, but the audio kind of sucks. It's a full cast performance, and while a couple of the voices are great, Izzy, the main character, and the narrator's fine, the rest mostly just sound wooden and clunky and full of awkward pauses. It's like they were all given their lines to read, but with absolutely no context given. I personally would not give a 1 star to a book if I hated the audio, but still loved the book. I mean, I think you can rate individually on Goodreads, which if that's the case, then go for it, but that's just me. It's actually one of the things I like about Audible. I rate all my Audible reads. They let you do like an overall rating, and then there's a performance and a story rating, and I do really like that because I don't always give them the same rating. I just found this one very interesting because I freaking love the audio. As I said earlier, I think that the audio is amazing. It's full cast. I think the whole cast does an amazing job. It's one of the only books I listen to at 1x speed because I just love like the feel of it. They use music. I think the narrators do a really good job. So yeah, but obviously I'm not like, and I've only ever heard praise for the audio. So I wanted to include a review where people don't like the audio, so that like if you don't like the audio, that's fine. Also, it is full cast. I recently found out there are people who don't like full cast audio, which blows my mind. So I thought everybody loved full cast audio. It's my favorite. I think it just adds so much dimension to the story and allows the characters, not that there aren't great narrators out there who like audiobook narrators who can do amazing unique voices, there are, but I just love a full cast. So, but that is me reacting to some 1-star reviews of some of my favorite books that I have given 5 stars. Yeah, everybody's choices are different, and people are gonna rate what they're gonna rate for whatever reason they're gonna do it. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.